I'm out here in Gansevoort Peninsula, a crazy fake beach in the middle of Manhattan with my model Alexandria. I'll say that again. This is my model Alexandria. Thanks for coming out today. We're gonna test out the Hasselblad for portraits against the Canon R5 Mark II, the Sony A1, and we're gonna see a few different scenarios and how it performs. First, we're gonna start out with front-lit scenarios here. See how they handle in ideal conditions, how they render detail, the color depth of each of the different cameras. We're gonna switch to a backlit where we have to recover the shadows and see how they deal with that. And finally, we're gonna bust out a strobe and actually light her up at their sync speed and see what the leaf shutter does and if that gives us any benefit.
The biggest sensor, the most megapixels, the deepest color.
Oh yeah, very nice. Oh, the wind is cooperating with us today.
This camera offers all the features.
Oh yeah, I like that spin.
But do they work? The results don't look much different at first glance. The Hasselblad has a different aspect ratio. You can see it's the exact aspect ratio that Instagram uses. On the Canon, we actually have to go in and crop it a little bit to get an Instagram photo. That's annoying because I always have to leave extra room at the top and the bottom. The Hasselblad's native ratio is also closer to the standard 8x10 size that people make prints out of. Let's zoom in and check the details. The Hassie has a ton more detailed. Like, just look at how much color you can get out of her iris, which is just kind of mushy and lost. And that really is the key to a portrait. The Hasselblad's 16-bit color depth also just makes the skin a little bit smoother, a little bit purer, a little bit more natural. I'm not sure it shows up in the YouTube video, but you can download sample files from the link in the description.
You know, when you have a really big bright screen, it really helps to encourage the person that you're working with because they look better on a better screen, right? And I find that sort of feedback really helps in real time. And I wish every camera manufacturer gave us a nice, big, bright, professional screen. Right now, it's really only Hasselblad, but I think this, the moment when you're communicating with your subject, with your model, I think that is one of the biggest values of this camera. And you can see even in bright sunlight, the screen is still very visible and it's so fast and fluid. It feels like a professional machine. Look how I can just zoom in and make sure that it nailed focus on everything, which it just did.
Here's how the Hasselblad screen looks compared to the Sony A1 in full sunlight. It's not even close.
Yeah, and look at me too. Turn your body towards me. Yeah, nice. Backlit portrait shoots are pretty common. First, all the contrast is really dramatic. But also, it's a nice way to not have your client staring into the sun. Oh, she looks great, right? It's so dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
This is like straight up like flash dance.
Love that.
It's a little corny, but we're doing it. Got the sun glinting through there.
I can't believe this. She's in complete silhouette and yet it's still tracking her eye. That's amazing. Watch it regain focus after this bike goes past.
A little bit of skyline back there. I'm dropping the camera down so I move the horizon in the background. But you do depend on recovering a lot of shadows. So let's see how they each perform.
Both cameras are at their base ISO and exposed for these highlights. Let's recover the shadows. And zoom in. Wow, this is not close. The base ISO of 50, the medium format dynamic range, the 16 bits of color. The Hasselblad looks dramatically better. The Hasselblad is usable. I want to give full frame every opportunity, so let's use denoise. It does look better with denoise, but the color is still lost, and when we zoom in on the eye, you can see there's just no remaining detail left. A huge win for the Hasselblad.
The backlit photos are cool, but they're mostly a silhouette, and recovering all those shadows leads to lots of noise, so we add a front light. And that doesn't have to be hard. We just put a little flash right into this folding softbox, and then you can light her up. That's Cash, the Soho shooter, on the lighting. Now, this is where sync speed becomes really, really important. This camera has basically an unlimited sync speed because it has a leaf shutter in the lens. The exact sync speed you get is going to depend on the flash and how well they're synchronized. Testing this wireless setup, I find I'm at about 1/1500th. But combined with the base ISO of 50 here, that means I'm shooting full power, none of the drain of using high-speed sync, and getting these killer shots, lighting her up while literally overpowering the sun. You can't do that with any camera that doesn't have a leaf shutter.
With that flash at full power, with that softbox, this is the best I could do with the Canon, the Sony, or any camera that didn't have a leaf shutter and a base ISO of 50. Their slow sync speeds can't overpower the sun, and switching to high-speed sync would cut the flash power too much. Now you might think Sony's global shutter and the A9 Mark III would fix this. Well, I did a whole video and it doesn't really fix it.
Okay, and just walk forward comfortably.
This new body combines phase detect autofocus, PDAF, with literal laser autofocus, LiDAR.
Very nice.
So let's see how it tracks her moving.
Oh, look at that. It's tracking her eye. It's keeping her in focus. This is like the first time with a Hasselblad that I've been able to track somebody walking, because in the past, what I've had to do is to direct models to strike a pose and then hold it. And models can do that, but you can't do that with a bride walking down the aisle. And this is the first one that can actually keep up. Now, it doesn't have 30 frames per second like the R5 Mark II or the Sony A1, but I think it's enough for most stuff, and it's certainly enough for portrait and modeling shoots, and it gives me the ability to shoot dynamically with a Hasselblad, which I haven't been able to do before.
This is a win for the Canon with 98% shots sharp. The Hasselblad got 93%, which is actually pretty shocking considering this is their first iteration of continuous autofocus. It's something the Hasselblad cameras haven't been able to do before, and I think 93% is totally acceptable. I switched to Hasselblad a couple of months ago, but I was absolutely blown away by this new camera. Like, I've been using this gorgeous retro-styled 907X CFE and 100C, and it's a conversation piece. It's fun to use. I love the experience of it, but it's missing some basic functionality that I did need for a lot of my shooting, like continuous autofocus. For that reason, I would end up going back to Canon or Sony for a lot of my work. This one addresses a lot of that. As you could see, it could track a moving person. The eye detect worked in a variety of situations, and generally the autofocus, even in landscape situations, has been a lot better. So when Hasselblad offered to give me one, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'll take it this time. I haven't done that before, but I will do it. The design here is striking. While it resembles modern mirrorless cameras more than the other Hasselblad, it has a viewfinder, for example. It has a tilting screen. The new version here has a thumbstick. Use it when your eye is to the viewfinder for selecting autofocus points or navigating menus. Compared to this Canon R5 Mark II, well, it stands out. And people do notice that it's something special, and that does help separate you from other photographers. Your subjects, your clients will know that you're using something a little bit special. And the sensor is much larger than the full frame sensor, but the camera really isn't that much bigger. But the viewfinder here is pretty amazing too. It's absolutely huge. Both of these support HDR. HDR in this context is the technology that allows extended highlights to show up in monitors. Instagram allows HDR, Facebook allows HDR. Almost everything you see nowadays on Netflix and Hulu is going to be in HDR. This video is in HDR. It looks better because it has more dynamic range. You can capture the highlights. The setting sun in the background of those shots feels like the setting sun because it's a little bit brighter. And that's something that I have really adopted in my photography. But up until now, no camera has allowed me to see the HDR that I was taking pictures of. So this new screen really does that along with the viewfinder. It's not just hardware. The software is amazing too. Check out this minimalist user interface. This is everything. This is the storage settings, for example. Tap that, and I can see that I have access to the full 1 terabyte SSD built in. They just give you a terabyte of memory that you can't possibly forget at home. That means it will always be ready to shoot. But if you do want it, there is a CF Express Type B card hidden in there, and that allows you to have a continual backup or continue to use your memory card to memory card reader workflow. But for me, I always just connect a USB-C cable directly into this and use that internal memory. My next favorite thing about this is the sensor stabilization. It's absolutely insane. Using my 38mm lens, I was able to get shots at 4 seconds handheld. I was able to get 2-second shots on the Brooklyn Bridge, which itself is constantly shaking. That's amazing because I for one, hate to carry tripods, but there's also many places where I cannot carry a tripod. Like, I tried to set up a tripod in the Oculus here in New York City to get a long exposure with the people moving, and a security guard immediately shut that down. As soon as I got this camera, I went back to the Oculus and I got the long exposures that I was looking for. This really gives you so many more creative options. Like, look at this picture of a carousel. I can capture that at basically any shutter speed up to a full 4 seconds and show as much or as little movement as I want. And unlocking that creativity is so powerful. Your mileage may vary. I did get quite a few 4-second shots sharp. I was more consistent and reliable on 2-second shots. I pretty much would take 10 2-second shots and I would have half of them be sharp. My friend's a DJ, Dimitri Modern Machines, and he was at the Mission Nightclub, so he brought me backstage when I wanted to freeze the motion. I could shoot at a short shutter speed and a high ISO. And even though it's a high megapixel sensor, those images cleaned up really well. High megapixel sensors don't actually have any low light penalty that you think they do because they capture more detail unless you can just add noise reduction. And in my real world testing, high megapixel sensors do better than low megapixel sensors. Be sure to subscribe because my review of the 35 to 100 lens, which pairs ideally with this and should provide even better autofocus performance, will be out pretty soon. I didn't get the lens in time, unfortunately. I'm also going to make a tutorial to show you exactly how to use this camera and get the most out of it, so subscribe to see that. In summary, is this the camera for you? I mean, it's an expensive camera. It's out of a lot of people's budgets. But if this is within reach, I do believe this is the most powerful camera ever made for things like portraits, landscapes, events, fine art photography, night photography. This seems to be the perfect camera. It's not a sports camera. It's not a wildlife camera. For those things, I will still be using Canon or Sony or Nikon. But for everything I can, I'm going to be using this and knowing that I'm going to get the best images possible. If you have follow-up questions, ask me down below. Thanks for watching. Bye.